The Bakunawa, also called the Philippine moon-eating dragon, the Philippine moon dragon, or the moon-eating dragon, is a serpent that looks like a dragon in Philippine mythology. It is believed to be the cause of eclipses, earthquakes, rains, and wind. The movements of the Bakunawa served as a geomantic calendar system for ancient Filipinos and were part of the rituals of the Babalan priestess. It is usually depicted with a characteristic looped tail and a single horn on the nose. It was believed to inhabit either the sky or the underworld. Due to increasing trade contacts with South Asia and the Indianization of Southeast Asia, the Bakunawa later became syncretized with the Naga, Rahu, and Ketu of Hindu-Buddhist mythology. Bakunawa is believed to be originally a compound word, meaning bent snake, from Proto-Western Malayo-Polynesian bakuk, bent, curved, and sawa, large snake, python. Spelling variants include Bakunawa, or Bakunawa. When the moon is eclipsed, the Indians of various districts generally go out into the street or into the open fields with bells, panastanes, etc. They strike them with great force and violence in order that they might thereby protect the moon, which they say is being eaten or swallowed by the dragon, tiger, or crocodile. And the worst thing is that if they wish to say the eclipse of the moon, it is very common in the Philippines to use this locution, saying the dragon, tiger, or crocodile is swallowing the moon. The Tagalogs also make use of it and say Linamon Laho Buwan. Translated, Laho swallowed the moon. Tomas Ortiz, Práctica del Ministerio, 1731, via Zuniga's Estadismo, 1893. Syncretization with the Hindu-Buddhist serpent deity Naga. It was also syncretized with the Hindu-Buddhist Navagraha pair, Rahu and Ketu, deities who were responsible for eclipses of the sun and moon, respectively. Versions of the Bakunawa also existed in other myths in the Philippines, sharing the common theme of being the cause of eclipses. The most similar to the Bakunawa is the Tagalog Laho, derived from Rahu, also known as Nono or Buaya, a serpent-like dragon that causes moon eclipses. In Kapam Pangan mythology, Lawu is depicted as a bird-like dragon or serpent that causes both solar and lunar eclipses. However, its features are closer to the demon, Rahu. Both the words Laho and Lawu mean eclipse, also in modern parlance to disappear or to vanish, in the Tagalog and Kapam Pangan language. Other mythological creatures related to the Bakunawa include the Hiligaynon Bawa, Bauta or Olima, the Mandaya and Manobo Tamba Nakua, the Bagobo Minokawa, and the Maranao Arimaonga. However, these do not always appear serpent-like. The Maranao Arimaonga, for example, is depicted as a lion-like dragon, while the Hiligaynon Olima is a winged serpent. The Bagobo Minokawa is a dragon-like giant bird, and the Mandaya Tamba Nokano and the Manobo Tamba Nakua is a giant crab, sometimes also a giant tarantula or scorpion. Tales about the Bakunawa say that it is the cause of eclipses. During ancient times, pre-colonial Cebuanos believed that their supreme god, Bathala, could also be Captain, the Visayan counterpart of Bathala, created 7 moons to light up the sky. The Bakunawa, amazed by their beauty, would rise from the ocean and swallow the moons whole, angering Bathala and causing them to be mortal enemies. To keep the moons from being completely swallowed by the Bakunawa, ancient Filipinos would go out of their homes with pans and pots and would bang on them with great force to make noise in order to scare the Bakunawa from spitting out the moon back into the sky. Some of the people in the villages would play soothing sounds with their musical instruments in hopes that the dragon would fall into a deep sleep. Thus, the brave men of the village hoped that while the dragon was hypnotized by the musical sounds, they could somehow slay the dragon. Although the dragon was known as a moon-eater, It was also a man-eater. Other tales tell that the Bakunawa has a sister in the form of a sea turtle. The sea turtle would visit a certain island in the Philippines in order to lay its eggs. However, locals soon discovered that every time the sea turtle went ashore, the water seemed to follow her, thus reducing the island's size. Worried that their island would eventually disappear, the locals killed the sea turtle. When the Bakunawa found out about this, it arose from the sea and ate the moon. The people were afraid, so they prayed to the supreme god to punish the creature. The god refused, but instead told them to bang some pots and pans in order to disturb the serpent. The moon is then regurgitated while the Bakunawa disappears, never to be seen ever again. Others tell how the Bakunawa fell in love with a human girl in one of the native tribes. The head of the tribe found out about their affair and had their house burned to ashes. The Bakunawa, finding out about this, became immersed in anger and tried to take revenge by eating all 7 moons. While the Bakunawa was about to eat the last one, the supreme god took action and punished the Bakunawa by banishing it from its home away from the sea. It also says that the reason for the eclipses is how the Bakunawa is trying to come back to its home and deceased family. Some Filipino elders believe that Bakunawa is a moving island with communities mounted on its back, and that there are 2 classifications, the flying Bakunawa and the land Bakunawa. The story of Bakunawa and the 7 moons was first documented Nga Sugal Anong Karan, 1913 by Beiser. The story gained wider recognition when it was published in 1926 as part of the Mga Sugal Anon Pilanhon Folk Ire Filipino collection, where Beiser ends with his personal experience surrounding the belief in Bakunawa. According to the ancient folks, when Bathala created the moon, he created 7 of it, so that each would illuminate one night of the week. The nights were bright and ever so beautiful because of these 7. But the joy of the people on earth didn't last, and the beauty of the sky was no more when one night a terrifying creature that crawled around the world like an evil serpent, as St. John told about in Apocalypse, envied the beautiful creations of the Almighty, and to the great dismay of the people on earth, swallowed 6 of the moons. The serpent was named Bakunawa. When Bathala saw the creature devouring all but 1 moon, he planted bamboos on the remaining moon. From afar they looked like stains on the surface of the moon. To the people's despair at the loss of the 6 stars, they learned to heavily guard themselves so that the one last moon would not be taken and destroyed by the frightening serpent. One night the whole world panicked at the deafening scream of the people and the banging of drums, among other objects that people could get a hold of to produce loud noise and sharp echoes as they saw the moon being attacked by the Bakunawa. Children, big people, the elderly, women, and men all cried. "Return our moon," among other unpleasant words. This was the only sound heard throughout the world that night. Cries and moans blended together and took over the hearts of the people who feared that the world would end if they lost the only moon they had left. The people came out of their houses and kneeled on the ground to pray that they would not be deprived of their moon. It was a pity sight to behold that our brothers and sisters did not understand then what eclipse was. The loud noises stopped as they saw the Bakunawa finally spit out the moon. The joy of the people at the return of the moon could not be described that night. They lifted their hearts to the sky like flowers and uttered their praises of gratefulness to the Almighty who owned all creations. Up until this time of progress, many still believed in the Bakunawa, and a lot still screamed, "Return our moon," and those in the mountainous regions and shores still practiced this when an eclipse occurred. This was proven to us in the recent eclipses that had happened in our towns. It was true what an old proverb said: the footprint of the old people never disappears. And this footprint was immortalized in the history of our city. Damiana Eugenio published a reworked version of the myth in her collection of Philippine folk literature, The Myths, released through the University of the Philippines Press. There is a short Hiligaynon song in 3/4 time that children used to sing during lunar eclipses. Our moon, long ago, was eaten by the Bakunawa. Please have pity, return it, the crown of our king. Figures of the Bakunawa's head decorate the hilts of many ancient Filipino swords. These swords that originate in Panay are said to bestow upon the Hangawe or Mandirigma sacred warriors, the fearful presence and power of the Bakunawa or whatever deity animal they have on their deity hilt when they wield their swords in combat. A children's game called Bulan Bulan, Buwan Buwan, or Bakunawa is played in the Philippines. It has 6 to 8 players arranged in a circle. A player acts as the Buwan Bulan, moon, while another player acts as the Bakunawa, eclipse, chosen either through Jack and Poi, Malistaya, or Maibataya. The other participants stand in a circle facing the center and holding each other's hands. The Buwan Bulan stands inside the circle while the Bakunawa stands outside. The object of the game is for the Bakunawa to tag or touch the Buwan Bulan. The rest of the players try to prevent the Bakunawa from doing so by holding on to each other and running around the circle as fast as they can while not letting go of the ones next to them. For the Bakunawa to get into the circle, he or she asks one of the players, "What chain is this?" And when the player replies, "This is an iron chain," the Bakunawa should ask another player because an iron chain is supposed to be unbreakable. A player who wants to let the Bakunawa in can say, "This is an Abaka chain," and should let go of his or her hold. This is usually done when the player playing as the Bakunawa is tired from running around. The Mala Tikan Tumanlak can also try to get in by going under the linked hands. If the player chosen as the Bakunawa is fast and small enough, this can be done easily. As soon as the Bakunawa succeeds in getting in, the players forming the circle should let the Buwan out of the circle. The Bakunawa then tries to break out of the linked hands to try to get out to catch the Buwan Bulan. When the Bakunawa succeeds in catching the Buwan Bulan, they exchange places, or if both of them are too tired, another pair from the circle of players is chosen as the new Bakunawa and Buwan Bulan. In pop culture, the Bakunawa is a super weapon used by the main antagonist, Murga, in the video game Freedom Planet 2, along with other creatures derived from Philippine culture. In the 2015 MGA network show Alamat, Bakunawa is voiced by Tonopet Gaba in the episode Ang Bakunawa at Ang Pitong Buwan. In the massively multiplayer online role-playing game Ragnarok Online, Bakunawa is one of the special MVP monsters on the game. In the mobile game Everwing, Bakunawa is one of the unlockable dragon sidekicks. Portrayed by Roy Vinson as Alejandro and Mata Ng, Bakunawa, main antagonist and main rival of Aguila in GMA Network Fantasy series Bong Revilla concept series Agamat and Aguila in 2021.